everybody. I'm having some trouble with my tripod, so my camera right now, because I know you're dying to know what it's sitting on, it's perched on a stack of a Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, a box that my Beats by Dre headphones came in, name brand drop. On top of that, there are 2 Vogue magazines. And then on top of that is my camera. Hey camera. Life hacks by me. On Stuff Mom Never Told You, I had weird body things on the brain, and not so much weird, but kind of strange and awesome at the same time. On Monday, I highlighted 7 strange and kind of just awesome facts about the male body. On Wednesday, it was 7 strange facts about the female body. And on Friday, after I had been flipping through probably one of the Vogues that my camera is sitting on and noticing all of the bizarre model poses, I just wanted to see what it would look like if I tried to integrate modeling into my day-to-day work life. If you want to tweet me a photo of yourself in some kind of model pose doing some sort of everyday task, I would love it. That's me drawing a giant heart. You can tweet me at Cristen Conger, and if you tweet me, I will respond. I will love you. Moving on to Ask Cristen, first of all, thanks to everybody who commented on last week's video. Do grades matter? The overall consensus was a collective, screw grades. If you can just get through school, things will be okay. It was also really interesting to get an international perspective from a number of commenters who live outside the US. Things to rant about, for instance, commented, "This is such a weird time for seniors in the UK as we find out our exam results in a few weeks, which affects if we get into our chosen university or not. Everyone I know can't even think about results, otherwise they end up going into a really dark place. I think there's a massive pressure on teenagers to perform, so much so that breakdown and panic attacks were perceived as normal during our revision/exam period. Totally unhealthy." That's why I think it is important to underscore that while yes, grades are important, grades are not everything. And if you need some comfort in that regard, seriously, go to that video from last week, Do Grades Matter, and just read all of the comments from all of the employed and functioning adults who said, "Hey, I didn't do great in school, but I've got a job." A sample of Steve also commented, "I appreciate your adherence to the principle of correlation does not equal causation." That makes me so happy that you have noticed that theme. It's one of the simplest and yet to me one of the most important research principles to abide by. Say it with me, folks. Correlation does not always equal causation. Also in last week's Ask Cristen, I asked you all whether you'd be interested in me doing a mini video series on productivity and focus and motivation, particularly with school starting back up, and overwhelmingly you said yes. So guess what? I'm gonna do it. Hopefully it will help me with my own productivity and focus. Thank you for giving that to me. You see how this works? This is a relationship, people. To kick off these conversations about productivity, Natasha P has a great question. "I'm going into grade 12 and get stressed out really easily even though I know grades aren't super important in high school in comparison to university. I work so hard that I'm worried I will burn out once I get to university when it actually counts for more. What do you recommend I do to ensure I don't burn out or give up once I get into the university of my choice?" Burnout is something I actually think about a lot. I make 2 podcasts a week, I make 4 videos a week, and I run a website called Stuff Mom Never Told You. The answer to avoiding burnout, it can't just be like, well, take a break. You can't always take a break. But one big thing I started doing a little while ago that has really helped me break a cycle of procrastination that would lead to anxiety, that would then amplify feelings of burnout, is something called Eat the Frog. Eat the Frog comes from this Mark Twain quote, which goes, "Eat a live frog every morning and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day." It's this idea that if there's something that you really need to get done but you kind of don't want to do, it's your frog. If you eat that frog first thing in the morning, it's all downhill from there. I have this habit of making to-do lists every day. Productivity tip. To-do list for today. I noticed that there would be certain items on the to-do list that would show up day after day after day. Those were my frogs. I either need to reprioritize and just move it on to some other time down the road, or I needed to eat the frog. And how did I know that it was a frog? Not only did it show up on my to-do list all the time, but when I saw it on my to-do list all the time, it caused me anxiety. Burnout, at least in the way that I experience it, is not simply just a lack of ideas or just like having no motivation whatsoever. It's also this mentally drained feeling and dread of having to do anything else that I experience in the form of anxiety. So eat your frogs just as you should eat your kale. On top of that, set realistic goals for yourself. This is something I have to remind myself of as well. When you try to force yourself to do more than you're really capable of, that compounds the feelings of anxiety and burnout because you feel like a failure. You're human. Allow yourself to be human. Part of setting realistic expectations might include tracking your time, whether it's for a day or maybe even for a week or two, just to see how you really use your time and if there are areas where you could use it more wisely to thus give you more time for the all-important rest. Rest doesn't necessarily mean sitting around and doing nothing at all. My rest, for instance, usually involves lots of cooking or hanging out with my dog or reading or going to yoga. But if and when burnout does happen, one thing that I've also found very helpful is not just blaming the work. Try to take it a few levels deeper. What is it about the work that you're doing that is causing you to feel burnout? I have learned that I can get really burned out if I spend too much time working in isolation. It's really important for me to also have feedback from other people and brainstorm with other people and collaborate. When in doubt, watch a Stuff Mom Never Told You video or 200 of them, because there are over 200 of them for you to watch. Now I want to know what your tips are for avoiding and dealing with burnout. Let me know in the comments below, and as always, ask me your questions so I can give you some answers. And spirit fingers.